Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So we are going to look at yet another Ishizu variant. I could probably do different Ishizu decks and just cover those for like the whole rest of the season at this rate. I don't know how many more I currently have in the bank, but I've definitely been looking at the comments as well as just around online on Master Duel Meta, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck, other sites, and taking a look at what all has been doing fairly well with the Ishizu engine. Another deck I did want to try that I already had pretty much everything for was the Zombie deck, Ishizu Zombie, and I was honestly pretty surprised when I played this deck. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be bad or anything, but I definitely thought it was going to be one of the kind of, I don't want to say weaker, but fine, I'll say weaker. I thought it was going to be one of the weaker Ishizu decks. When I played it, I definitely underestimated just how much gas this deck has. I think I was limited a lot more in my inexperience with zombies than the actual deck itself when I was playing these games here. So, once again, we are of course using the Ishizu cards and combination with that Grassland Screener in order to mill out most of our deck in order to make use of a lot of graveyard effects. This time around, we're looking to send various zombie monsters to the graveyard, namely Necroworld Banshee, which we can then banish in order to activate Zombie World, which will hugely open up our plays, as then stuff like Mezuki can bring back any monster from our graveyard, and then we can make a lot more easily our zombie synchro monsters like Skeletal Dragon, Felgrand. Immortal Dragon actually does not require zombie monsters to be synchro summoned, but it definitely supports by milling them. Funnily enough, you can actually use Immortal Dragon and Alghoul Mazera in Adamanticators if you want. That's another way to make power to a Braver Dragon potentially. And in fact, Alghoul Mazera I actually kind of considered just playing an Adamanticator even without the Immortal Dragon or any other zombies. Not for the first effect, rather for the second. When this card is banished from hand or graveyard, you can special it, and then you can reduce its level by 1. So if you banish it with Block Dragon or Gigantes, it comes back as either a level 7 or 8 monster. Coming back as level 8 monster is pretty relevant. With Block Dragon, lets you make Zombie Vampire, so on and so forth. But that's all Adamanticator talk. But I did want to mention it here because we are of course playing this deck in the zombie, or this card in the zombie deck rather. But I was looking at potential applications for the card outside of that as well. Some other graveyard shenanigans we got going on are like the Performage Trick Clown, which is just a level 4 monster that pretty much just special summons itself back when it's sent to the graveyard. We have the Shinobi Necro, and then the Shiranui Solitaire for some extra recursion there. We are of course running the Punk engine. We've got 3 Ze Amin in this build, as well as the Foxy tunes and then the 1 Deer Note. We of course use that to go into the Chaos Ruler and then Zombie Vampire as well. We're also playing Pep, Psychic, and Punisher, so that's another thing you can potentially go into as well here. Oh, and then of course, speaking of zombie synchros, we of course also have the Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord, which is very good when you have the Zombie World online. Let's see, other engines. Okay, we've definitely got the Dangers going on here, just like we did in the PK Ishizu deck. We got the 3 Danger Nessie, and then we also have 3 of each Tsukinoko and the Jackalope as well. The Danger Nessie is actually very relevant to this deck. Being able to summon this is very good because it lets us go into our various level 10 synchros very easily with a level 3 tuner, like Uni-Zombie, although Uni-Zombie can adjust its level extremely easily, making our whole extra deck accessible here. On top of that, let's see, we're running a few other like random zombies here and there too, like Mad Mauler can bring itself back from the graveyard. The Gozuki is actually pretty good for being able to foolish any zombie. The Changshi the Spiridao. This can actually be pretty useful for milling zombies, as well as special summoning itself if it gets banished, same as the Shinobi Necro, of course. And of course, we're playing Fairy Tale Snow, as you would want to do with pretty much any 60-card Ishizu deck right now. This can activate a lot of the stuff in the graveyard, like the aforementioned zombie monsters that summon themselves when they get banished. Destrudo, even though we don't have Dragon Ravine, this can still obviously get milled very easily. Makes a lot of synchro plays very lively. We're running a single Doomking Balerdroch, or Balerdroch. I always mess up that there's actually 2 R's in this card's name. You think it'd only be 1, but we're only running the 1 because we're not really trying to like make this card necessarily like other zombie decks. Like, it's nice to have it if we can manage to mill it, but we're not going out of our way necessarily to make it. We have a very good extra deck and suite of monsters there that we much prefer to end on. A lot of these are pretty much the usual suspects here. I mean, this extra deck is honestly very similar to a lot of our Adamantipator extra decks as well. Of course, the Immortal Dragon, Skeletal Dragon Felgrand, there we go. And the Red-Eye Zombie are unique, as well as Pap is relatively unique, although you can get away with playing this Adamantipator as well. We have Vampire's Sucker here as well. That's another unique card. We're pretty much playing this instead of like we would play Asa in Adamantipator, for example. It's pretty good. It can get you some advantage when you summon back any of your zombies from your graveyard, or if you have Zombie World in play, just any of your monsters in general. This is a deck I will admit I'm not super experienced in. Like, you know, I played a fair bit with this deck to get the games for this video, but beyond that I haven't done a whole lot of testing with it. And then beforehand I think I'd played, like, you know, the 60 card branded Eldritch deck before, but other than that I haven't really dabbled in zombies too much, although of course, like with many decks that already wanted to be 60 cards, the Ishizu package definitely offers quite a bit for the deck here. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover as far as that goes. Let's go ahead and break the list down card by card as we always do, and then we'll look at some gameplay. So we're on 3 Maxx, 1 Shinobi Necro, 1 Mad Mauler, 3 Uni-Zombie, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Danger Jackalope, 3 Danger Tsukinoko, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Ze Amin, 3 Mezuki, 1 Performage Trick Clown, 2 Shiranui Solitaire, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 1 Gozuki, 2 Necroworld Banshee, 2 Keldo Sacred Protector, 2 Mudora the Sword Oracle, 2 Kelbek the Ancient Vanguard, 2 Agido the Ancient Sentinel, 1 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note, 1 Changshi the Spiridao, 1 Destrudo the Lost Dragon's Fission, 3 Danger Nessie, 1 Doomking Balerdroch, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy Tune, 1 Alghoul Mazera, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 That Grass Looks Greener, 3 Zombie World, 2 Emergency Teleport, and then 2 Called by the Grave. So there is our main deck. For the extra deck, we're playing 1 Immortal Dragon, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Skeletal Dragon Felgrand, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Sheng Ying, 1 Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord, 1 Psychic End Punisher, 1 The Zombie Vampire, 1 Vampire Sucker, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Sprite Elf, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 Access Code Talker, and then finally 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Alright, there is our list. Now let's take a look at some gameplay. For our first game, we're up against Adamantipator Sprite, actually, which is a deck I'd, like, heard about briefly, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute, you know, Researcher and Seeker are level 2, but I hadn't actually played one against one yet, so we'll see how this goes. We're going to take the first turn here. It's looking very good. We got a couple of dangers, Foxy Tune and Foolish, so, you know, we're all good. I decided to lead with the Foolish to see if I could bait an Ash Blossom, and sure enough, I did. I guess, to be fair, I could have started by using a Danger to check for Ash Blossom. I could have started by setting the Foolish, but I did, to be fair, want to start with Foxy Tune before I played my Danger cards, because I didn't want to get rid of my Punk line so easily. So, yeah, here we're going to have to Tribute Summon the Foxy Tune, or that's the Foxy Tune, the Deer Note, but once the Deer Note gets sent to the graveyard, we can potentially bring back the Foxy Tune. Or I guess here we have the Nessie, so instead we're just going to bring back the Ze Amin. That's going to let us go into a level 10 Synchro there. Now, this is definitely one of those hands and board states where I think maybe I could have ended on something stronger. I guess it also did very much depend on what I drew off of my dangers there, but I don't know. I feel like I did the best I could given the situation there, but decided to pass with only IP and Baron. I say only IP and Baron again, that's still not terrible. It's an Omni Negate into a Disrupt / removal, so that could potentially be useful. But it's going to go Cardahan Special Sprite Blue. They're actually not activating the Sprite Blue's effect, which is honestly pretty smart of them, because if they had activated it and I chained to Baronne de Fleur, I'm guessing they don't have another Sprite monster to special summon from their hand. That would have been the end of their plays right there. Going to battle phase, battling over my IP, we're definitely going to allow that to happen. And they don't actually have anything for the Baron, and they don't even activate the Gigantic Sprite, so I'm definitely okay with that. Gonna start by using Baron's effect on the back row. It turns out to be a cross out, nothing that major. I'm just gonna move to battle phase here and battle over the Gigantic Sprite and pass back to my opponent. I want to keep the Kelbek in hand so that I can potentially bounce a monster back. That could be very good. We'll throw out the Maxi during the draw phase here because I don't know, my opponent could be on triple attack. They're actually not, because they're playing a full Adamantipator engine. They're on very few spells, but at this point I've only seen the Cardahin, so I wasn't sure if maybe they were taking Cardahin for a different reason, but who knows. Well, I guess we do now. They were on Adamantipator, but holding the Kelbek definitely paid off as we end up top decking Mudora here. It's going to allow us to discard Kelbek and then trigger the effect. Our opponent's got an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It's going to end up stopping that in its tracks, but at the same time, milling our opponent, especially with the knowledge now that they're Adamantipator, could have actually milled them into the Block Dragon, which might have even gotten them out of this situation. Although, let me check my duel log here. I don't think I've actually used the Baron's Omni-Negate effect yet, right? No, I don't think we have, so we do actually still have that up here, which is pretty nice. And then, yeah, our opponent's just actually going to concede after that. I guess they weren't able to play through Baron's Omni-Negate, and then the Destroy effect definitely threatens to just push for lethal on the next turn. So there we go, even though we got kind of a little bit of a rough start, I don't know, it was actually a fine hand. It's just that it was a little bit awkward with our opponent's Ash Blossom there. So we only were able to end on IP and Baron, but at the same time, seems like that was enough to go ahead and take the win here. So let's go and take a look at this next game. Okay, so for this duel, we're going to be up against a Punk deck. It's pretty much a pure Punk. It wasn't doing anything super out of the ordinary as far as I could tell. This time we're going to be going second. And let's see how well we open here. Not bad. I mean, we have the grass, so we have that going for us. And we have the Nibiru as well. So, given that we're up against Punk, we can definitely make good use of the Nibiru. Although I will say, this is one of those decks where I just haven't played against it enough to know exactly when the best choke point for Nibiru is. And it can definitely be very tricky here, right? One of the things that a few of the things that I try to look for when I'm trying to figure out when to Nibiru in a situation like this where I'm not super duper familiar with the opponent's deck is checking to see if they've normal summon. That's a huge one. So then normal summoning the Ze Amin is pretty good for me here. Also want to note, especially when they're adding a bunch of cards like this, exactly how many cards you're unaware of. Like keeping track of all what you know is in their hand can be very good, because then obviously you know if they have another extender they can just play out even if they don't have anything but the token, so on and so forth. So let's see, they've summoned this, and then they added Foxy 2 was the last card they added, so looks like an Ogre Dance is coming out next, so we do have to keep in mind that they have a Foxy 2 in their hand. Also, this field spell, and the fact that it can be used twice per turn is pretty annoying, honestly. Yeah, unfortunately, Punk is also, like, it might be one of those decks where they can just run out the ability to, you know, make an Omni-Negate before you can even really cut them off with Nibiru. So I definitely did not pick the best time to Nibiru here, and that is honestly why I kind of went out of my way to set up and keep track, you know, in the replay here, the fact that our opponent had Foxy 2 in hand, because I definitely wasn't mindful of that during our actual duel. So like I said, that's definitely something you want to be mindful of when you're actually playing. Also the fact that I could have waited for them to sink away the Deer Note and then hit them with when they had their Synchro Monster, as well as whatever they summoned back here. At this rate, the opponent also gets to use the triple attack to shuffle back our grass, so things are definitely not looking super duper great. But at the same time, you know, we'll just see how the game plays out here. Yeah, they ended up only going into IP after that and passing, so it looks like even though they did have a little bit of extension after the fact, it was actually enough to stop them from doing anything like too scary here. Yeah, looks like they just used the Foxy 2 to send and then summon a Ze Amin from their deck. So that's also all three Ze Amin gone, right? 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Which is very nice. It's pretty much a one-card combo. Well, I was going to say in Punk. It's really that case in any deck it's in. So, yeah, even though Nibiru might have been able to be timed a little bit better, at the same time, like I said, we were still able to cut off our opponent from doing anything too scary here. So, especially now that they've used their last card in hand, Ash Blossom, we know that Nightmare Unicorn isn't going to be a huge threat here. I'm still going to summon the Fairy Tail Snow to force the IP Masquerena in this situation. It's going to go for Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. Looks like they're mainly just looking to get off a search here. We don't have too many more plays here, but that's fine. We'll give them the search. I don't know, though. No, I definitely didn't have enough in grave, yeah, to use Fairy Tail Snow. I'm just used to having a ton of cards in graveyard, so I'm like, oh, why didn't I just link away Fairy Tail Snow and go for plays? And it's like, oh yeah, duh, I didn't have a graveyard, so. It's too bad we wouldn't mind banishing Alghoul Mazera for Fairy Tail Snow either, but I guess they didn't end up having a top deck that could out a 3,000 attack beat stick because our opponent just ends up scooping in that situation. So this is actually one of many reasons why I really like Nibiru in this format. I've talked about this a lot, but Nibiru, especially now, is very, very good. And even as I was playing this deck, I was like, maybe I should try to make room for a second one. I'm honestly looking to run 2 Nibiru in just about any 60-card deck right now. So yeah, there's that duel. We still have a couple more to take a look at. Let's just go ahead and dive straight into this next one here. Okay, so for our next duel, we're going to be playing against Fluon-Rees. It's packing some Fossil Dynas as well. Definitely don't want to see decks that are playing Dimension Shifter pretty much ever as a 60-card mill deck, as one might expect. Alright, we can take the first turn here, and looking at this hand, I'm thinking Noh-P.U.N.K Ze Amin is probably going to be the way to go here. Like, we could summon Gozuki and try to mill something, but it's like, there's not really anything that's going to be, like, as much of a one-card combo as Ze Amin, so normal summon the Ze Amin, activate the effect. Fortunately, rather, it's not contested. It goes uncontested. So I'll use the Foxy tune, pitching the Necroworld Banshee. It's going to allow us to set up Zombie World here, and then we get the Chaos Ruler as well. Much like the other decks that we run, the Punk engine, we're going to be setting up a Zombie Vampire display using the Foxy tune as well. So let's see what we hit off Chaos Ruler. We did hit an Agido, which is pretty good for us here, and we hit a Uni-Zombie. We have normal summoned already, but we can potentially discard this and bring it back later. Our opponent's also on a 40-card deck, so we definitely do want to be milling them here with the Agido and the Kelbek. That is actually something to note, and something that I think is really, really important to note when you are playing one of these 60-card Ishizu mill decks. I've seen a lot of opponents just go ahead and mill when they're playing against me and I'm also playing a 60-card deck, and I think you want to be really careful about that. In fact, I would venture to say that most of the time, unless you like desperately need the mills, if you're going up against a 60-card, like another 60-card deck, and you're playing the millers and you hit them, I would just not even activate their effects. And again, if my opponent was not on 40 cards, if they were on 60, I would definitely be doing that. 40, though, we're going to mill them all day, so it was a very good Agido mill. We not only hit a Kelbek, we also get to bring back a Trick Clown for just a free level 4 body on the field as well. If we look at our graveyard here, too, we actually milled exceptionally well. There's a Destrudo, there's a Shinobi Necro, there's a Mezuki, and there's the Shiranui Solitaire in our grave as well. Just a bunch of nice stuff that we like to have set up in graveyard. Another nice thing about having Mezuki in grave is that we also get to bring pretty much anything back with the Necroworld Banshee, turning all monsters in our graveyards into zombies. Gonna link it to Vampire Sucker to get a free draw off the Mezuki here. Even though all of our stuff is zombies, I'm still gonna get back the Shiranui Solitaire here. I'll set the call by before activating Danger Jackalope just to make sure that we don't discard it. Discarding this Gozuki is pretty rad. It means we get to banish the Shinobi Necro, the special the Alghoul Mazera rather, from our hand. That's going to allow us to special summon the Shinobi Necro because it got banished. Now we can go into Appaloosa, and we also have the materials to go into a Baronne de Fleur here as well. So there's the bulk of our negates set up already. We also have the Uni-Zombie on board now, so we'll just go ahead and mill yet another Mezuki from our deck. And then we'll also bump this up to level 5. I'll use Destrudo, targeting the level 5, to specifically bring Destrudo back as a level 2. That's going to allow us to bring back the Chaos Ruler, and then potentially use this to summon another level 10 Synchro. We could also potentially use it with the level 6 here in order to make a level 8 Synchro, but we're going to go for a 10. Specifically, I'm going to go for the Changshi, because we do have a couple of Shufflers in our graveyard. At least one. Yeah, we have the Keldo. I thought I saw that in there, so yeah, we're actually going to go 5 and 6 for the Psychic and Punisher in this situation. And I actually could have, I think, even further extended. I'm pretty sure I had at least one more live effect here. I remember while playing this game, I ended here because I was actually out of time. I mean, not out of time. I had like 20-ish seconds left, but I was like, you know, I want to make sure I actually have like some amount of time to respond during my opponent's turn, and thank God they started giving us 30 seconds during our opponent's turn, like when it starts, because seriously, for long-form combo decks like this, it is desperately needed. But this is very much like more of what a typical inboard, turn 1 inboard, uncontested, as our opponent was unable to contest us here. This is what this typically likes to look like here. You got the Appaloosa, that's got 3 materials on it. We have a Changing, we have a Psychic End Punisher, and a Baronne de Fleur. We have a stray Jackalope here as well. I'm trying to look, because I remember, I have this distinct memory during the game of thinking like, oh yeah, I definitely could have kept going if I just had more time, really. But no, we've already used the Mezuki. Must have been something else I was thinking of. We have the Call By set as well, and then Zombie World doesn't look like it's really going to affect our opponent too much here. I don't believe our opponent's stuff needs to be Wing Beast on the board, but yeah, I'm really not scared of anything Flunder could do to us with this kind of a board state. They're going to fight anyway, though, which we definitely like to see. They're going to start the Pot of Extravagance, and then also a Duality as well. I'm going to allow both these to resolve. I don't really care if they try to dig for answers. I want to save my negates more for stuff like this Triple Tactics talent here. Same with this, what is it, Jack in the Hand. They can go ahead and give me the Rabina, that's fine. That's actually extra fine, because if we look at their graveyard, we actually milled their other 2 Rabina as well, so they don't have any Rabina. I mean, to be fair, they probably just have like Eaglin plus Stree in their hand, or like some other, you know, Flunder they can summon, maybe Tokan. Well, you can't use Tokan here, actually. Now, this Flunder in the Uncharted Winds, I'm actually pretty scared of this card, because it's the closest our opponent's going to really come to having, like, a, why can't I think of the name? Kaiju. Like a Kaiju or a Lava Golem type of effect. And in particular, I'm worried about that potentially taking out my Psychic End Punisher. This card is, I don't know if Flunder has a way to out this aside from the Unexplored Winds here, but in any case, yeah, I'm definitely not cool with this card being on the field, so I want to get rid of it as soon as possible. I'm thinking I want to do that with my Xing here, so what I might do is wait for my opponent to summon first, and then, although it's only 1 card on the field, right? I guess we're just doing it in response to the summon of Eaglin, yeah. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, want to make sure that that's just out of there. And then what else did I banish? The Dimension Shifter, the card from the graveyard's not going to matter at all, but yeah, definitely wanted to make sure we got rid of this Unexplored Winds. I was definitely afraid of this card, honestly. I honestly kind of thought about hitting and negating it or the Magnificent Map. I'm actually pretty glad I didn't negate either, because we knew they had the Triple Tactics talent in hand. Very pretty Royal Finish one, by the way. And we definitely want to make sure that we have the ability to stop that as well. So I'm going to be doing that with the Baronne de Fleur here. And at this rate, I'm not really scared. I don't think anything my opponent could do from this point, bar, like, them happen... Like, if they happen to have Raigeki, then sure, they just have it. But even in, like, that case, which is, I think, the worst they could do to me at this point, we only lose Apple, Jackalope, and Baron. Psychic End Punisher is, of course, unaffected by activated effects, because our life points are much lower than our opponents, and the Chengin can banish a card from the graveyard, and then it'll be fine. So... it's like, I don't really think there's anything else they could do at this point. They do still have a normal summon. Yeah, there's no way they don't. It's Flunders. But, like, what are they going to do? Go into M-Pen here? Like, M-Pen still can't really get over this board state. We can just run over... well, I mean, we can't run over the M-Pen, to be fair. But, you know, at the same time, yeah, our opponent's not going to have anything. We could just keep the Chenging in defense mode and then wait till our turn, banish a Shuffler from graveyard, and then banish the M-Pen that way. Like, even if they had something, right? We had tons of answers left. None of the other double tribute monsters like Apex Avian or Ryza would have done it because we have the Apple, so there really was just not any feasible way for them to out our board here. So, granted, we did get to go first, but, and I usually like to show games like this a little bit earlier in the video, but I did at the very least want to show at least one game where we had a nice ideal board state. So there's that one. We do have one more duel to take a look at. Let's dive straight into it. For our last game, we're up against Math Mech. It's quite a pile. It's 52 card Math Mech, playing just about every single tech that I think a Math Mech deck could. We're gonna be going second again this time. Looking at our opening hand here, we've got an Ash Blossom, so like that might be enough. Let's see if it ends up being the case here. Opponent's gonna lead with Small World. I will fire off the Ash Blossom in response. I did note my opponent's deck size here before chaining because I was like, okay. There's a decent number of 60 card decks that run small, that could feasibly run Small World, including Adamantipator, and against pretty much all those decks, I think they have better Ash targets, but when I saw, 47 plus 5 and like 52, I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, but it's not 60, so I'm going to Ash the Small World just on the off chance it was... I thought on the off chance it was going to be Math Mech, and it actually did turn out to be Math Mech, so pretty glad I Ashed the Small World there, because it's actually going to stop their play. So that is definitely something, especially in this meta, and especially if you're running 60 cards, you definitely want to note at the start of every game is how many cards your opponent is on. Because like I said earlier, if you're up against another 60 card deck, you don't want to be activating your Ishizu millers unless you like desperately need the mill, because we don't want to give our opponent any amount of extensions, right? Here I'm going to start by summoning the Uni-Zombie and activating the effect. I wanted to see if I could get an Ash Blossom or something like a Veiler or an Imperm out of the way. I was really expecting Veiler or Imperm, but it did turn out to be Ash Blossom, so definitely glad I decided to wait before activating the Foolish. Here I thought a little bit about my potential Foolish targets, but ultimately decided I was just going to send a, a Kelbek there. So let's see, looking at our opponent's mills, we confirm they are on some sort of Math Mech plan. Looking at our mills, we milled the Destrudo, which is very nice, and otherwise not too much, but that's fine. Alright, now here we get to bring back the Trick Clown, and I'm actually going to use the Destrudo on the Trick Clown in order to bring it back as a level 3, doing some tricky level manipulation there in order to get out the Immortal Dragon. That's going to let us Foolish yet another zombie. It's going to be Mezuki here. I'm actually going to use Mezuki to bring back Gozuki, and then I'm going to use that to Foolish actually yet another zombie. This time we'll banish the Necroworld Banshee and start setting up our zombie world here. Now I'm just going to go into the Chaos Ruler. The way we set this up is also nice because now we have the Immortal Dragon as a level 2 tuner, so we can use that potentially with the level 8 Chaos Ruler for a level 10 Synchro here. But opponent's not really going to give us a chance to keep going after that. They're just going to concede. What actually were our Excavates there? Did we hit anything relevant? We hit a Foxy tune, and we hit a Kelbek, but I think Kelbek is what we milled with the first time, right? I don't think it was Agido. Let's see. Yeah, it was Kelbek, so wouldn't have had another mill, but we could have added the Foxy tune. We even had a Shuffler in the form of Keldo here to discard, so that would have been nice, but of course the opponent just decided to give us the W there. I don't know, actually, I would have liked to have continued that turn to see if I could have managed to find a way to lethal there, but I have to imagine that would have been the case. Anyway, yeah, that's going to be all for this one. Thanks for watching these duels. Now let's go ahead and move on to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.